Are we ready? This is what I do for a living. This is what I want to do forever, make movies and do these videos.
Action.
Hi, my name's Lanita Duke, and welcome to a special edition of the Duke Report. You know, I've been around in this city for, God knows, a long time, and I've ran across various programs and individuals. And of all the programs and individuals I've ran into, the most effective program for young people to prepare them for the future is a program that combines vocational training as well as education. Now, for teen parents, this is very difficult because they have to deal with issues such as daycare, such as transportation, and so forth. We are very fortunate in this city to have a program that combines and takes into factors all the barriers facing teen parents. They address those issues and they go beyond. The program I want to highlight is the Pivot program. I was very fortunate to record and make a little tape on their very first graduation. Let's check this out.
You like that?
How's it sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, let's do the middle part. Okay, take two, pivot, wrap around. Now that was their very first graduation, but I wanted to do a tape beyond graduation. How are these young women doing after they graduate from Pivot? Let's check out a video I did for Pivot entitled Their Employers Video. Now these are young women who've graduated from Pivot. You'll probably see a few of the same young women who are in the graduation piece now moving on in the workplace. Let's check out what employers say about Pivot as well as what the young women say about Pivot.
Okay.
Let me do my outro. Well, there you have it. Again, can't you understand why I think this is one of the most effective programs? Again, teaching vocational education as well as basic education, as well as self-esteem, as preparing young people for the future. Well, thank you again for listening to and enjoying the Duke Report. My name's Lanita Duke.
Afternoon, what?
Okay.
Well,
What's the setting? Hi there. Oh, there's none.
Hello.
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
yeah.
What's
You
up?
don't even have to say that. Just answer my question.
Okay.
Okay. Are we rolling? State your name for the record and your current position.
Hello, my name is Pamela Davis, and I'm with the Mayor I Can program, and I do the coordinator's position. And I also work with the Urban League of Portland as the Director of Counseling Services.
We're going to cut that urban league part out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Why?
all right. I'm going to cut it out.
You said stay where I work.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay. Get back in
Character.
character, as you say.
Yeah, character. Okay.
Pamela, what is the biggest barrier you had to overcome in your life?
I think one of the biggest barriers and hardships that I encountered while growing up was the challenge of going to college. It was really difficult for me to look around and find role models who could motivate and instill in me that I could make it through a system where we were told as black people and also as black females that we could not make it. I went to 2 years of school, college at Clark College, and 2 years at Central Washington State College, and 1 year at University of Portland where I've received my master's degree. So I would say going through that experience, I did come in contact with our black people, some black role models who really set the tone for me and really inspired me to do it, as well as their spiritual reinforcement that I got from them and my family.
What's the difference, do you think, or is there a difference between today's youth and when you were young?
I think one of the biggest differences is that we have a lot of parents who have other responsibilities to raise a child, and they're doing that in competition with all the media that's going around, with the gangs, with the teenage pregnancy. A lot of these parents are single parents, and also we have a lot of systems that have been in place for years that have not really assisted people of color, low economic people. And in terms of young people, they kind of view these times as a flyaway time, an individual time. It's me now generation. Whereas 20 or 30 years ago, I think we had more extended family members participating, and we had people caring about each other in the neighborhood. And I also feel that the school system is not encouraging our youth. So we have a lot of high youth delinquencies.
What advice would you give today's youth, especially young sisters coming up?
Get an education. Don't raise a child, don't have a child unless you are responsible enough to take care of that child's rights and welfare. Work in your community, work with churches, work with local young women's groups, and also try to be a mentor to some young lady that may be within your neighborhood, whether she's black, white, Asian, Hispanic, that doesn't really matter, but be out there, be a role model for someone, be a good example for someone. And remember, there's people out here that want to help you, so reach out and ask for help and go as far as you can with your goals that are set realistically.
Grandma, was that so difficult?
Booyah!
Okay, let me cut your mic off. Thank you so much.
Cut her.
We ready? Stand by.
Right.
Joanne, what is your official title with the Portland Public Schools?
I am a community agent at Whitaker Middle School / counselor. I work with students who have problems getting to school or who have not even enrolled in school yet. I do many, many home visits, and I try to work with the families and the students to try to get them back into the school system.
What are among the reasons kids have such difficulty sometimes enrolling in school and then attending?
Could you repeat that question?
What are some of the difficulties you encounter when trying to find kids who enroll and then attending? And I know attendance is a big problem among our people.
Attendance is a very big problem among, all students actually, not just minority students. All students, it's a big problem. But what I see happening is some of the kids are just bored and they don't want to come to school. Some of the kids don't have the proper clothing to wear to school. So there it becomes a peer pressure problem. And then they just decide they want to stay home. Some of the kids don't even have homes to live in to leave a home and come to school. So they feel more or less embarrassed, or they're going to be put down, and they just decide they don't want to come to school. Some kids just want to hang out, and they just don't want to come to school. Or they don't have that parent at home that is actually getting them up, pushing them, and encouraging them to come to school.
Now, we're in a situation in the Portland Public Schools where because of budget cuts, many African American teachers or counselors like yourself will be bumped by a teacher or counselor with more seniority. So we have a situation where we'll have an older white female teacher or counselor and a minority low-income students. Is that a good way to learn in? What has historically has been the problem with when you have a white female teacher? Not to say she can't teach, but the issue is, can she teach in a style that's relevant to make it relevant to minority children or low-income whites?
My personal opinion about that is that, yes, she can teach if she actually understands the minority kids or understand what's really going on today with our youth. But as we know, unless you have been in the gutter, as I say, with me, you don't understand the garbage.
So what are you trying to say, my sister?
What I'm trying to say, I think it's going to be very hard for some of these, as you call, non-minority teachers coming in trying to teach our minority youth.
You know, Juwan's in his books, A Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, he talks about the 4th and 5th grade syndrome, where at that age, boys become disinterested in learning. They act up more. They no longer listen to the parental authority that used to have some control on them. Working with this age group, have you found that to be true?
I have found it to be true, although I work with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So working with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, it makes a difference. I don't work with elementary school kids.
Okay. But you know elementary school kids? I mean, how are they at the 6th grade? Do we find African American males especially more disinterested in education?
Oh yes, we do. And I think the reason why that is happening is, again, as I say, because of the pressure out there with the gang problem going on, with students feeling that they don't have that parental guidance anymore, that the gangs are sort of our family, and so they buy into that because they don't have that parental guidance at home. So therefore, they have a tendency to go the other direction. And that, saying that is joining gangs.
Why do you think, among the other reasons, you spell out why gangs are so appealing to our young men and young women?
I feel that the reason why it's so appealing because to them it looks good. It's something that they want to be a part of. They feel that they care about them. They really don't feel that the school system, or I shouldn't say the school system, the teachers or their counselors or even the principal, they don't understand us. But our gangs buddies, or our homies as they call them, they understand us. So therefore, they have a tendency to kind of go over to the other avenue. And I think it's happening everywhere.
And not only is this happening with African American youth, it's happening with Asians, Hispanic, and now white youth who feel that same way.
It's happening all across the board in every culture. It's not just a black issue anymore. As it was first brought out, there was only the Bloods and the Crips. But you know, we know there are gangs that wear three-piece suits and bow ties. You know, they're just not wearing the red and the black, or the blue, or the green, or the purple. They dress in three-piece suits, designer suits.
How do you go about alleviating or trying to let a youth know, communicate to a young person that you do care about them and you want them to succeed?
The way that I go about it is I let them know that I'm listening to what you're saying, and I care about you, and I have respect for you. And I know how you feel because I'm black and you're black, and I've been there, and I understand you. See, first you have to understand the situation. As I say, unless you've been in the gutter with me, you can't, there's nothing that you really can tell me. Now, you can talk about Columbus discovered America, but that's not what we're about. I'm talking about what's going on today with our youth and what's going on today with our minority young men.
Any final words? You summed it up right then and there. You're easy to edit.
No, I think that's it.
What advice could you give the kids that are going to be in larger classrooms with a afraid white teacher, female?
The advice that I can give young men and young female, one thing that I always say, because I run a group at Whitaker Middle School also, don't ever get caught up in the system. And the system I'm talking about out in the streets with the police officers. You've got to keep yourself clean, and you've got to keep your head straight, and you've got to keep it above water. And what I tell my youth at my school is, come to school, be prepared, and do the best that you can do. You're not going to always make straight A's, and you're not going to always make B's. But when you do the best that you can, that's all that I and anybody else will expect from you.
Thank you. Now, that was good. Okay, you ready?
I hope.
Okay, let me get a correct pronunciation of your name, because sometimes I can butcher up a person's name. No?
Wait.
Pronounce your name, please,
Alandria Taylor,
and your official title.
Juvenile Justice Division Gift Program Coordinator.
Now, we talked earlier about the discrepancy in funding between programs geared for young men, youth, versus those geared toward young women, same age bracket. Why is there such a difference?
I think perhaps the main reason is due to the surfacing of young women involved in gangs, in that there was an occurrence, to my knowledge, in 1991, in that the whole idea of women in gangs became apparent. And so up to that point, all gang funding resources were geared towards young men. But we are finding that services need to be in place, therefore funding needs to be available for young women and service needs.
Are young women attracted to the gang lifestyle the way that young men are? Is it for the family? Is it for the cohesion? Is it for the protection?
I think for the most part, exciting. I think the main thing that I'm finding is that it replaces the family. As we know, the typical response to young men in gangs. But I think it replaces the family. It provides a structure that they're missing. As you know, young women tend to become impregnated by gang members, therefore, or thereby creating a family structure that may be in fact missing at home. So I think it's that whole cyclical cycle of continuing the gang lifestyle. And that makes it attractive, appears to make it attractive in my opinion.
Could you just summarize some of the programs that are offered under the GIFT umbrella? And do you believe they're making a dent in this kind of lifestyle? Are we offering an alternative program to that? Do we offer the protection, the family, and so forth, and the excitement?
I think so. I think what has been very positive about the GIFT program is the community involvement, in that there was a collaborative effort to include all community areas that had an impact of gang females. We have family services, which is very important. There's a women's collective that deals with women that are between the ages of 13 and 18. We also have the Southeast Asian component, which is very critical in that we know that there is a rise of Asian females in gangs, and that they're violent and they're on the rise. The other components of GIFT deal with auxiliary needs in terms of emergency housing and shelter and additional services that they may need.
I'm a taxpayer. I voted yes on ballot measure 5 for a reduction in my property taxes. I don't see the benefits of increased taxes to go for social programs. What would you say to me? Because you know there's a tremendous anti-tax movement in this state, and a lot of it, they resent social programs. They believe the family should take care of their kids, and if they don't do it, then they should go to jail. What do you say to a taxpayer like that?
You have got to provide services for young people. If not, it was like a saying that I heard earlier, if you don't provide the services and the structure up front, the end result is going to be greater than the beginning. I would say that there needs to be educational services in place, there needs to be economic resources in place. All of that helps a community's growth. And if it takes different resources from homeowners taxing, then that's what needs to happen. I feel very strongly about that.
What do you see for the future for programs devoted to young women? Do you see an increase in funding, or easing of programming, you know, where programs are all under one umbrella? What do you see? Do you see it solving some of the housing problems? Do you see them dealing with some of their violence? I mean, what do you see in the future?
For me, I see, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm really truly advocating for is housing for young women. I see that being one of GIFT's major obstacles at this point. We have services in place that deal with parenting, child parenting, and employment opportunities, and array of other services. However, when it comes to providing a safe and stable environment for young women, housing becomes the key and very significant point of her life. In that, whatever we do in providing services, if she is not safe, if she is not stable, she is not going to achieve her goals and aspirations as we would hope and as she would hope to have happen.
Okay.
Ran out of tape just in time. Thank you.
I get nervous with this stuff.
You did real good.
You did.